Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the USL Show. We are hoping you are having a wonderful, safe day as there's some weather rolling through for a lot of y'all. So be safe out there. Nothing is as important as your health. I mean, well, maybe we are, but your health is second. So keep watching if you go into the bunker, please. Get those views up. Some we haven't seen in a while. A couple people we haven't seen in a while. I just want to say hi to Alan. Hi.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm coming to you live from my workspace, not my apartment, but so that's why there's a scarf.
Yeah.
This is like decided to decorate this space instead of the space I live in because
Obviously. Yeah.
soccer.
Soccer. Ryan, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. I made $66 on USL bets over the weekend, which I then turned around to buy office shoes. So, not encouraging you to bet to have your bills paid for, but it's one way to make money.
I think Ipe said that at one point. So anyway, Phil.
I'm good. I got a reprieve in I got to enjoy an Easter weekend with no locomotive to ruin it for me. So feeling very blessed.
I wish I could say the same. John?
Yeah, I'm just out here living life. I am still beating the drum for CBS to please put me on the broadcast. I'm here. I'm probably a short little train ride away from the studio to talk about the Indy 11 game. So executives who aren't watching, get me in the mix.
If there's any executives watching, hi. First off, thank you. Why are you here?
Just put all of us on Galazzo. Yeah, if you're actually watching, put all of us on Galazzo, please.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
Sure. I'm here for it. Speaking of, we are now. I feel like I can give a little bit more away now. We've been talking about a live show, and we are officially in the works of going out to a live show. So we want you guys to be aware of what's going on. We are looking to go out to Oakland versus Sacramento on July 20th. Okay. So we need to raise funds for this. We're going to be coming out with some new merch somewhat soon to try to raise funds for that. But also sponsors. If you are someone who wants to sponsor the show, we have pretty reasonable rates. I'm going to be honest with you. So reach out to us, the USL Show at gmail.com. And also, I would like to just go ahead and thank Stephen, Jeremy. Congratulations on the new family member, Jeremy, by the way. Alberto, Noah, Michael, Joshua, John, Christopher, Aaron, Frank, John, and Harry. I will get those scrolling updated very soon, so you'll see your name there again. So all that said, we are trying to get out to Oakland, and that's what we're planning right now. So if you want to help us, the Patreon will be amazing, but also if you know anybody that just wants to get their brand out there just a little bit, that would be cool too. Anybody have anything on this? Anything else?
I can't even begin to describe how dope this would be. And anything like, I don't know, like Oakland Roots do some very cool things, but yeah, this would be pretty unbelievable. And like, I think this is something that USL teams like at times are reluctant to do in terms of engaging with like independent media, and I love the idea of partnering with more teams like this in the future if this one goes well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Also, just even if it doesn't work out, I just want to say shout out Tommy. I love you, dude. You're the best. So shout out Tommy from Oakland, by the way. Just
Best
want that
Everton
out
fan
there.
I've ever.
Tommy's out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Tommy's out there doing everything right to build that club, to build that community. Like, I mean, if we could be a small part of that effort, that would be unbelievable. So any support helps.
For sure. Hey, so kind of speaking on building communities, there's about to be, I think, some people in Louisville and in Indianapolis. It's easy for me to say that might be finding out that they have a professional soccer team for the first time, a men's professional soccer team anyway. And that's because it's going to be on CBS, not CBS Galazo, not ESPN2, CBS. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is about to have a Final Four lead in, right?
The Final Four is on TBS on Saturday. So that means the more important game is on the more national broadcast.
True. Very true. But yeah, I mean, when I was watching the Elite Eight and I saw I'm not even going to try to do it, the LIAP or no, LIPAFC.
There we go.
Yep, you got there.
Yep.
Yeah. On like CBS, I was taken aback because I saw the Louisville Stadium and I was like, why is that on my TV? And I saw Louisville City and I was like, what is going on? And it shocked me. It's so cool.
It's like, yeah.
Again,
I mean, just like
we've been talking about it a lot. Like
go for it.
No, you got this.
John is in hell. No, it like John said, like we've been talking about it, and I think the overall the message here is one, like you said, Kaylor, like this is visibility that USL just hasn't had on network TV. This is people are going to be finding out that these teams exist, and I think in general the amount of the level up that is going on with the CBS partnership is truly like next level for USL, and getting a regular season game and not just a final on CBS is it's going to be awesome, especially when you think of like these like some of the viewers are referencing when you think about the YouTube days, like they are not that far removed from just being on YouTube, and now they're going to be on network television. It's kind of insane.
And with CBS, like they have a history of doing well with soccer, right? They put a good product out. It's a place where people are starting to end up for their soccer coverage, and it's very I want to say eclectic. It's got a group of people who are knowledgeable, who are engaging, who are super fun. Like they bring Alexis Guerrero in, like they do it well and do it right. And so to have a place where USL the land that isn't just an afterthought, like sometimes ESPN certainly feels that way, to have it on Big Boy CBS is a step in the right direction, because they're going to have to, get a foothold in somewhere, especially with, the Super League coming, to find a place for USL to get national broadcasts.
And it certainly won't hit the reality until we're starting to get previews for the Masters happening the following weekend, and we get to hear the now Big Ten football theme song accompanying the Louisville broadcast.
John, are you alive?
Yeah, I got to sort out some audio real quick, but I'll be good in a second here.
Okay. Goodness gracious. Talking about the kind of lead in to that. By the way, CBS is putting ESPN to shame with soccer coverage. Yeah, the one thing I kind of always want to bring up with the CBS as well, just the broadcast quality. And I've kind of talked about how there are other sports that they do. They have done just a perfect way of filming their actual cameras that they use. They've done a very good job of investing in the correct equipment, and you can tell. just visually you can tell. So, yeah, I am. So, DCFC versus North Carolina is leading in on CBS Detroit here in Michigan. Also, I mean, every team that has their like CBS, ABC, Fox, whatever affiliate, leading in, like Legion have a local affiliate, which is cool. But there's something about a truly national broadcast that are about to discover the second tier for the first time ever is really cool. One thing that I think is pretty neat about it is I can't remember where the tweet came out. I saw Ben Goshorn quote tweet it, and it was basically like, this is a monumental moment in American soccer history. And it sounds like one of those cliches that, what was the one that when they said, whenever they announced CBS, it was a monumental moment. It was something like that. But truly it is, because think about the last time you remember a matchup between a second or third division team being put on national broadcast. Don't even think about American soccer. Think about the second or third division of college football, or, or basketball. There, if it's not D1, it's not on national, broadcasts like that. It's not on network television. That is truly monumental.
At the same time, I think it's important to contextualize it relative to US soccer. Like, think about the last time MLS had a game that was on national TV, right? Like, they've been behind the Apple TV paywall for going on 2 years now. Sure, they were on ESPN, but how often were they on ABC? Like, this is a unique thing that the USL is doing that's really going to benefit.
Well, kind of talking about building community. This next little bit is, we are talking about Kentucky, the state of Kentucky. And I just kind of want to briefly mention there's some people that are kind of up in arms. And I want to do this high and tight, over FC Cincinnati too. They have a team that plays out at Northern Kentucky University. And they are rebranding it to, I think it's Commonwealth United. And there's a lot of people who are kind of upset about this because they're not being called FCC2, which I'm just going to get my personal opinions out of the way. I don't really think that affects either USL market whatsoever, because Newport is quite literally directly across the river from Cincinnati. Those people were going to Cincinnati games anyway. It's not like they're going to be losing any possible Louisville City or Lexington Sporting Club fans from this area. That whole area would have been going to Cincy anyway, so I don't think that's a big deal.
I think the issue tends to be when you rebrand these two teams and act like they are independent entities, whether it's with Ventura County, what we've seen with some of the affiliations elsewhere, it's getting away from the fact that these are just youth development teams. Like, these don't have an identity. They oftentimes don't have a supporters culture. Yet, if say you throw them up in the US Open Cup, if you see Ventura County against Irvine Zeta, that looks like a legitimate game, when it's actually MLS kind of Trojan horsing their affiliates in service of a larger goal that is ultimately not good for American soccer. And I think that the team names, while they seem small, are kind of that step into more nefarious things. So I'm with you that, like, on the small level, Commonwealth United, cool, whatever, doesn't affect anything competitively. It's part of a larger trend of action where I'm not going to say like MLS is gaslighting everybody, but I'm not saying that.
the minor league baseballification of minor league soccer, quote unquote. I think it is, like John says, it's tiny steps in a more broadly nefarious direction where, yeah, getting upset about the one team seems weird, but I think the trend that has emerged where they're just renaming all of their two teams, that feels a little bit more a little bit more nefarious seems like such a harsh word to use for something about sports, but it does feel a little underhanded, and it feels like a sales pitch to local supporters that, hey, this is a local team, like the same as these other local teams, when it's not the same. So I think that's more so the concern.
And you're already going to see that just more and more frequently as MLS sides try to push their B teams out into other markets. And you've already even seen some teams such as Crown Legacy and Charlotte as just renaming themselves and still staying within their own market as well. And it's just more a worrying trend on where MLS is trying to point their brand of soccer within the United States.
Very, very, very AstroTurf.
I guess for me, okay, I guess this is a bigger problem, and I guess I'm just summing up the issues with American soccer. I guess the minor league baseballification, if you will, like you mentioned, Phil. This is their own development league, so it technically is their own minor league teams. So I don't see a problem with that if you are thinking about it in the scope of Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, because these are their actual minor league teams. If you're not looking at the two independent teams in the league.
Well, and that's where it starts to get tricky, is I think like with the inclusion of the independent teams for like quote unquote legitimacy, where it's like you're hiding sort of, you're like, but look at Chattanooga, and in reality it's like they played Huntsville City. It's like, no, they played Nashville Reserves. Like that's what happened. But you're sort of hiding it all under this like varnish of legitimacy. So I think if they just came out and said, hey, we're rebranding all of our reserve teams, and here's all of the, like, this is how they all are, and this is going to be MLS Next Pro is going to be strictly a reserve league. Like they've said that they want to add more independent teams to MLS Next Pro. I think the idea is to try to poach teams out of League One and like take potential expansion off of USL. I'm probably being a bit cynical, but at the same time, it just feels like that's more so the broad goal, is they want to continue to extend the reach and kind of make it look all the same. Because then it's like we're all sort of having this argument of, well, what's the real like lower league soccer? And the average person isn't really going to care, or like see beyond sort of that surface level thing.
Yeah, just to piggyback once more real quick, like when you see the fact that likely there's going to be a DC United affiliate in Baltimore, like, taking up what should be a prime USL market, you think about LA Galaxy 2 and that rebrand. Like that was a team that in the very recent past was trying to just take Orange County SC's stadium. Like the fact that these teams are, or rather these leagues are kind of in conflict at this point, and MLS is being a little bit wry on how they want to position themselves, that's the reason for warning. Even though, like, in a vacuum, Commonwealth United, whatever, cool beans.
Fair enough.
And Kayla, you should know you can't keep that brief when you've got two veterans of the soccer wars on the show.
Yeah, I'm watching the NYCFC 2 US Open Cup game at Belson Stadium like I've got PTSD.
Oh, man. So let's talk about one rebrand to an expansion, and let's talk about Buffalo. Buffalo is allegedly coming into the championship market. FC Buffalo's already there, and super cool. FC Buffalo came out and said, hey, that's awesome, man. Can't wait to be involved with it. Same thing that we saw with, oh gosh, it wasn't Fort Lauderdale. Oh no, it's one of the Florida expansions that we just got. Naples got there. With Naples United basically saying, we love this for our city, we love this for our area, cannot wait to be a part of it. So I think when you already have the buy-in from FC Buffalo saying that we are a part of this, I think that makes the wars feel a little bit different, because it's actually an allied front on building not even just a pyramid, within the US, but also kind of a pyramid within their own city of you can work your way from the grassroots of your local club and then maybe be in tandem with the professional club in your own backyard.
And Buffalo is certainly a region of the country that the USL is familiar with, having had their roots within the former Rochester Rhinos as well. So it's another market that I think would at least fit within the overall kind of geographic footprint of growing this New England area.
Yeah, and just with some of the specifics of Buffalo, and given the fact that the Rhinos, like in the early aughts, were drawing 10,000 fans a game, this is clearly an area of the country where soccer can flourish. I think the leadership with Peter Marlette leading that group is incredible to see. He's somebody who did a fantastic job really shepherding the Union Omaha project on and off the pitch. And he comes from the Buffalo area. He played for FC Buffalo for a couple of years. I think if there's something interesting with Buffalo and Roswell, it's been the way that they've handled the ownership or lack thereof. There's not really like an announced majority owner of this club. Like, there's not a money guy who has publicly shown his face. That's the same thing that we saw in suburban Georgia, where the USL entered into a letter of intent to kind of pursue this project with the city. We're not really sure like what the backing is. It's a very exploratory way of going about expansion. And while I'm completely sold on all of the personnel and the market itself with Buffalo, I am a little bit concerned of the way that they're staking the claim in these places, that maybe some of the infrastructural steps aren't in place, and maybe the announcement comes soon, but it just reads a little bit odd when that's what you're seeing with the kind of first round of PR.
Also, we did an interview with Peter, and so therefore I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk in terms of location. Like John said, I think there's just a lot of unknowns. There's the vague reference to like the Buffalo mayor is supportive of it is just so like it is still leaves it very open-ended. So hopefully they can nail down some of the specifics, particularly around the stadium, because I think that is just going to become more and more of a sticking point with USL championship teams in particular, like making sure that they own their stadium and are in control of their stadium situation, I think is just going to be like such a prerequisite for future expansion. So I'm hoping they get it right, because I do think that if done right, this team can really be big in Buffalo.
Anybody else on this? All right. So unless John, did you have something?
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead, and I want to just hit a couple of things within the the Bluegrass State a little bit more. And let's talk about, if you haven't watched it, just go back and watch all of the Lexington versus Greenville match, because it was everything you want as a neutral and more. It was just a fantastic neutral watch. But Lexington looks like they figured it out. But Jamie Smith seems like he hates Lexington, Kentucky, and just always seems to pop up against them. And Amal Knight gets sent off. And we'll see. There's everybody said it's harsh, but there's nothing you can do about dissent, apparently. And so that one kind of is what it is. And yeah, Greenville come out with a 3-2 win. Just a bonkers game.
I know the refereeing is like gonna be a point in this, a big point in this game, but I do want to say first and foremost that who would have thought that Sebastian Velasquez coming off like would reveal Ben Zakowski, who was absolutely electric. Like, he wasn't just like making up the numbers. This kid is ridiculous. And obviously the goal stands out in terms of like the technique on the back heel, but he was so involved in everything good going on for Greenville. So I just wanted to call that out before we dive into all the controversy, because like, man, what a talent it seems like they have on their hands. And I mean, for him to just be sort of like a good college play, like he was just a very, very good college player, but never, wasn't hyped like to any, insane degree or anything like that. Seemed like a guy that, and then to see what he did against Lexington, just really impressive. He looks the business, as they say.
I think that's kind of the beauty of the Greenville model, and it's why they've been so successful year in and year out. Where, I mean, this game, it's in and of itself was a showcase, right? Of Lexington is the team that went out and got a bunch of guys with championship experience. Greenville has stuck with the same defensive core, and what they build around it is guys who put up some good advanced stats at kind of under the radar colleges. And hey, I mean, it works for them time and time again. There's a lot of controversy in this game, obviously, with the sending off. I mean, that the long throw at the end, like, that's crazy stuff to see in such a unique situation. This was a game on Golazo as well, if I'm not mistaken. So like credit to League One for getting that platform and putting out, for any neutral or like someone who just stumbled onto Golazo, what an introduction to USL League One and the havoc that you can get. So yeah, I mean, a lot to take away from this one for sure.
I mean, Greenville, even up into the red card that they had against Lexington, and still had 21 shots on the match and then 5 after the sending off. So it was still a very impressive display from the Triumph out of this game. And it was basically just kind of showed again that Greenville is a defensively great system and they know what they're doing.
I think too, though, like with this match, Lexington did show what they are capable of. And I mean, the talent that they have at the top end, like, is truly capable of the ridiculous. Like, and they were at times like torching Greenville, even though Greenville, I think, played overall well, particularly the second goal. I mean, it is just like, it shows what this Lexington team can be. And I think overall, yes, there's a lot of strange things at the end of this game. But I don't think, of the losses like that Lexington have suffered, early on in the season, I don't think I walk away from this one as like, what are Lexington like doing? As much as I was maybe in the first, where it's like, they're still really figuring it out. It seems like it is clicking in a couple of areas, and yes, they've definitely got to like get it together at the back, and you're dealing with the sending off. But like, I would say overall, if I'm a Lexington fan, I'm probably walking away from that after the dust settles. I'm probably walking away and thinking like, we're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing wilder would have been if the keeper did a touch on the ball and it just goes in the back of the net from the throw-in and everyone thinks they won, but then they call it back. It's just like, that was what was going through my mind immediately, was like, oh crap, this could have been even more chaos because they thought they had the winner. And I think the theme of some of the teams this week is like, there's a lot of promise. Yeah, you might not have pulled off a win, or you might not have even gotten a draw. A lot of teams that you can start to see how they're going to play, and there's some positive things to come out of a loss, or key takeaways. You're like, we need to fix this one thing, and we might be pretty good. And I think this is one of those showcases where you can see some of the teams starting to put some stuff together, and it's a long season and it's not the Premier League, so like you can tinker a little bit. You can go from last to into playoffs, and then it's all a new season. So no panic buttons. I don't think panic buttons aren't being pressed for very many places right now, as they shouldn't be. But I think with Lexington, that's one of them that you can start to understand how they want to play and see that they're going to be a pretty fun team to keep an eye on this season.
The one thing that we kind of had questions about was, could Darren Powell have a progressive offensive system? I mean, overall, we've seen his teams in the past be in the terms of negative, meaning defensive, right? Whenever we say a negative system, I don't mean it's a bad system. It's a defensive system. And you're kind of relying on Cameron Lancaster to be Cameron Lancaster, which, by the way, full credit to him for not just dropping down a league and treat it like it's supposed to be a walk in the park. He looks like he's trying just as hard, if not a little bit harder than he did in Louisville his last year or two. Like he's taken this very seriously, and big ups on him because it looks great. But also, you're looking at Diouf, who has not been involved this year. I know he was in this game, but as a total, just not. And he was the guy that I thought was going to be a shoo-in for Golden Boot this year. You kind of have to wonder if Darren has to sit there and say, yes, we brought in 17 center backs, but also we have one of the best attacks in the league. Why don't we just send it? Because their center backs are good. They can rely on, making a couple mistakes, but them playing so negative means they're constantly on the back foot. And it's bound to have mistakes happen when you are just on the back foot for so long.
Yeah, you'd love to see them try and kind of evolve that style in a way. When I saw the roster construction, I frankly thought a back three was going to be the choice. And you can imagine, right? Like if you put Corrales at one of the wide defensive spots, that's an excellent passer and ball carrier for someone ostensibly playing center back. I think the wing back role is really suited to Tate Robertson as opposed to being an out and out winger. I think there's a lot to be said for how that would suit this squad. Whether Powell goes that way, it remains to be seen, but if Lexington keep failing to get results like this, it's going to be something to watch. And maybe they just practice set piece defense and it gets fixed. That's a real possibility here. If you watch that Vermont game where they gave up the same goal a handful of times on the same corner routine. But I'm just a little bit, and I know we've talked about it a lot, probably too much, but I'm just a little bit concerned about Lexington.
So, speaking of going from being concerned to outmost confidence, go ahead and take the interstate, what is it, about an hour and a half, and go to Louisville. My word, I'm just going to throw it out there. You could probably easily say best team in the league right now because, dear God, they put a 5 spot on Legion, and it could have been a lot more.
Can you just talk about how you're doing?
Yeah. I was literally about to say, are you okay?
No. I left as soon as the game was over. I kind of laughed. I went to an Easter block party to get my mind off things, and one of the guys that's in like our young adult church group was like, "Hey, I heard you like soccer. You want to go out there and kick?" And I was like, "No, no, I refuse. I hate soccer.
Thought it was gonna,
stupid sport."
I thought it was gonna be like the meme where you're like just standing off the side. It's like, they don't know my team got pumped 5-0 today.
But I mean, all seriousness, Lou City, my God. He was not up for player of the week because his stats weren't there, but Perez might have been the best player in the league last week. He was ridiculously good. Wilson Harris gets the brace and gets taken off with 20 minutes to go. Didn't get his chance at a hat trick, but seriously, I mean, Lou City looked incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they were able to play through Birmingham, like it was really just very easy for them at times. And I think there is probably some conversation to be had about Legion's midfield and just how bypassable they were. Or yeah, how absent they were.
Do you want me to get up the heat map?
That being said, I do think I think we may have underpunched like just how good this Lou City team can be. Like I think we all thought that they'd be up towards the top of the East again because they did feel like they reloaded. I don't know if we were all ready for what Ray Serrano is bringing. like in terms of output. I mean, he gets the one goal, the one assist, but I mean, he's involved in everything. And for a guy like sort of breaking through amidst a more star-laden, if you will, like Louisville roster, yeah, he just looks absolutely unbelievable. And I think on form, there's kind of no stopping like this Louisville City team because they have so many different weapons. Like you mentioned, Perez doesn't even register like in terms of the score sheet. Because Harris and Serrano are on the end of the, so it's just like, where do you even begin to try to stop that Lou City attack? It's they've been ridiculous, but Serrano for me is just like such a standout, and a good surprise if you're a Louisville fan with just how involved he is.
Serrano is such a fascinating one. He was a guy who was like a right wing back with Tacoma. He broke out as a teenager. He came into Louisville and they immediately moved him into the central midfield. So seeing him grow into this wing position where he's constantly like tucking inside to get touches, facilitating play. He's a menace in the press. And you hit the nail on the head as well with Perez, who really has been out to sea a little bit in the first handful of games, like been the least impactful member of that front line. He felt like he found that flow against Birmingham. And there's a lot to be said that the Legion have been kind of putrid in every single game defensively, like not to rub it in outside of Matt Van Okel.
Not putrid.
They've been dire. Like no, but I mean, Lou City just deserves so much credit for going out and getting the pieces that would make this team that much better. And I would argue there's still room to grow. Like they're starting Jansen Wilson, who just graduated from college, and Jake Morris, who like played 6 games on loan for Loudoun last year at the wingback spots. They're gonna turn that into Amadou Dia and Sam Gleedle at some point and just be a weapon. So it's insane that this team can continue to get better.
And this equals for the third time in club history, they've begun the year with 9 points from 3 games. If they can win this weekend, it will equal their best ever start in club history.
I think this Louisville City side is going to be one of the petitions to start counting hockey assists in soccer because guys want their stats. Because there's just going to be guys playing the ball in the good spaces or making really good runs to like touch it off to a guy who crosses across and scores. And like the guy who did all the work is going to get 0 the credit. So they're going to start petitioning the league for hockey assists. Yeah, this game, much like Birmingham's midfield, I kind of stopped halfway through. I was like, I don't know if I can watch this anymore.
It actually got an NC-17 rating from this.
Right? Yeah, it was. I mean, and as a fan of soccer, like you have a team, like sure, there are certain teams that probably never been through this, but I think as someone who's watched sports their entire life, you have a team that you've seen. I mean, I live in San Diego. Like the Padres do this all the time. That it's just like, how can we dig ourselves out of it? But you have to have faith that at some point the team will figure it out. It might be next season. Sorry, Kaylor. But yeah, that was rough. But it's still early, right? Like you're not out of it. You know, you can put in a nice run at the end of the year, maybe find a midfielder or two. There's still hope for you yet. This is like the Empire Strikes Back part of your trilogy, Kaylor. So you just gotta like get your hand cut off and frozen in.
Yeah, Kaylor's frozen in carbonite.
Yeah. We'll roll them into Oakland. Just
I mean, Kaylor, look on the bright side. The Birmingham Stallions won this weekend.
I don't care about the freaking Stallions.
and not me just like thank God we had a bye week.
Look, you say we can the same things that were an issue last year are an issue again this year, but they're worse. They have worse strikers. The midfield is worse. They didn't replace anybody. And there's a lot of factors. It's not from the lack of trying, but they didn't replace anybody. And the people they did replace have just gone missing. Like, people
Yeah, where
didn't
is
know.
Torre? Where is Bura?
Well, listen, Mama Boya Torre, at some point when he at other clubs has also randomly gone missing before. This has also been a thing. So I don't know if he's actually gone missing, but the club hasn't told us anything. This is also the same guy that skipped his own wedding to go to training. So I don't know.
Hey, well, at least at least he didn't leave his family to go play in New York. So,
New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah, my bad.
Built different.
Do we think that maybe he thought he was signing for Birmingham City and
That's even worse.
got upset when he found out that he was in Alabama, or like?
I mean, probably. I mean, I'd be a little. I mean, granted, Birmingham, England seems like a decent place. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Look,
Can I lob one more Legion question your way?
Yeah.
Why are they doing the
I don't
thing
know.
where? Why is Kavita playing wide while Crownale is in the middle? What's the
I don't
logic?
know. So when they played Atlanta United, they had Crownale at wide, and he was the
Yeah.
one getting up. Him and AJ Patterson were the ones getting up and down the pitch. And I think that they were worried about Patterson and Crownale both going up forward because they're both players who want the ball at their feet. So I think they're forcing Alex to stay back because his tendency is to go forward. The issue is that sometimes they go to a makeshift back four with Fanuel Kavita playing right back and Kobe Hernandez Foster playing center back. And it's weird. I don't think it's really a plan. I think it's more or less forcing Alex to stay back and not go up because they want AJ to be the ball carrier, and it's not working.
Yeah, I mean, I won't keep digging in this ditch for the Legion, but I think a lot of the decision making right now has been pretty baffling.
Yeah. By the way, I have it up here. The heat map. If in case you're wondering, there are two holes here where you would expect a central attacking midfielder and a defensive midfielder. I don't mean light spots. I mean literal holes.
Like you see grass.
Yeah, there's grass there.
Zone 14 is just like a wasteland. Like there's not a single thing happening. Yeah.
And I decided to look at the and this is kind of where roster construction has made no sense. And I don't want to stay on this too long because we do have other teams to talk about.
Because you're about to get your credential pulled.
A second time. So anyway, I decided to check out where the ball was going, whenever they got to around that area, and they kept putting it out wide because that's where this team is built on wingers. And that's great, except who are they going to cross the ball into?
Enzo.
Your option is Enzo Martinez,
Noted.
who on good day is 5'8", and that's who you're trying to cross the ball into. And then it doesn't make sense. If you're relying on your inverted wingers to cut inside and score goals for you, that might have worked when you could be MLS2 merchants, but not in this current USL. It's just too competitive a league.
And next week on Hammering Roots,
I was gonna say, me and Kaylor noted Oakland Roots supporters since day one.
From the very beginning. But
we're not going to talk about that Oakland game, and that's probably a good thing for our sponsorship reasons.
What Oakland game?
I mean, it wasn't worse than the Birmingham game. That's an upgrade for me.
That's true.
So let's move on. And with moving on, let's go ahead and 45 minutes into the show. Let's get into this USL Tactics show. Why don't we? baby. Come on.
USL Tactic Show, where today I want to talk about the Tampa Bay Rowdies and the way that they were able to change their shape at halftime in order to gain surety against a really fierce Rhode Island FC team. Now, early on, as you're seeing, Tampa Bay pressed in a 3-4-3 shape, one that gave them parity in theory against the back three of Rhode Island, but in actuality left them a little bit unshielded in terms of the midfield and the protection for their back line. You see how they're holding a fairly high back line and how Aaron Guillen is forced to step up from that left center back spot in order to intervene. He was successful there, but that wasn't always the case for Tampa Bay. Here, Albert Dickwa gets in behind over Forrest Lasso, being a little bit slow. Now, compare that to what we saw in the second half. Tampa Bay moved into more of a 3-5-2, putting on Josh Perez as an attacking midfielder who played halfway between the center mids and that forward line. Here, Perez is roving in the press. He's denying Rhode Island the ability to simply play over the top and win a knockdown. Because Perez is there between the lines, the other midfielders for Tampa Bay were able to sit deeper, and that really caused troubles for Rhode Island. You're seeing how, in that first example, Perez played a role in the press, and here he's linking play, finding chances between the lines, and really allowing the wingbacks to get involved and players like Manuel Arteaga, who are gifted as rovers beyond their goal scoring, to be maximized within the context of the Rowdies' offense. This was a game where Tampa Bay really needed to prove something, where they needed to show that they are a contender in a stronger Eastern Conference. And as you're seeing with the way that they adjusted in this second half, continued to find chances because of those tactical shifts, they absolutely made that statement. Here, Perez is actually pressing up to the goalie, but again, look at him drop back, find a shot for himself, but instead pass it up and create opportunities. This is flow. This is evolution. This is what Robbie Nielsen wants to see for this Rowdies team going forward.
So Rhode Island, for kind of the first time, gets absolutely smacked in the mouth. And I want to be interested to see how they recover. But hey, Tampa Bay comes out and they look like what we thought Tampa Bay would look like. And Robbie Nielsen gets his really first signature win. And it kind of like what we've talked about in the past, it does kind of remind me of ye olden days where the Embrew was, flowing freely down there in the Trop. They're not in the Trop, but you get the point.
That would be insane if they played in Tropicana Field. That would be the most unhinged thing ever.
They've had baseball, hockey, and football there.
Yeah, I think like it's funny because we talk about two games that in theory are like really heavy defeats, but Rhode Island I think do come away from this one feeling probably a lot better about themselves than Legion in the other game.
We're done with that. We were done.
It's a juxtaposition, Kaylor. It's a juxtaposition. I think
what? My mental sanity?
Exactly. Rhode Island fan. This is not what Rhode Island fans look like. Rhode Island fans look happy. No, I'm just.
This is your brain on Legion.
Yeah. I think in general, like you did really well there, John, to like point out the tactical switch, because watching the game, it was so stark, like how Rhode Island did like quite easily like get their way in the first half. It wasn't that they had complete domination or anything you wouldn't expect them to at Al Lang, but they were able to do what they wanted, which was soak up some pressure, play out from the back, and then launch some of those balls over the top. Obviously, one falls to the feet of Dickwa to be able to go and bind and score, which I'm sure he will do a lot for them this season. But this was a little bit of, I think, maybe Connell Smith learning a lesson too, like from someone who, this is his first season in professional management, like as the guy. And I think he gets a little outfoxed here by a more experienced manager. Obviously, Nielsen is still like blooding himself at Tampa Bay, but I think in general, like he's him making that change just did like kind of highlight the one thing that Rhode Island is in the process of, which is there is a lot of learning going on both at like an organizational level and at the more tactical level. I think Kano will definitely like take this one for what it is, which is a lesson learned. They were a little bit naive. Obviously, there's a couple of bad mistakes, like the Cal Jennings goal is just a defensive error, like, and those will happen. So I think if you're gonna have a night like this, away at the Rowdies is not like the worst place to have it, because hey, you can take it on the chin, and then it's like we go again next week.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I was.
Yeah, it's a way.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a way at the Rowdies early season too. Like,
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I wanted to point out was the instant karma of the Rhode Island goal, of the goaler kicking the ball and the fans laughing at him, and he falls over and ends up like straight in a goal. It was just like immediate instant sports karma. That's the one thing that stood out to me. I mean, aside of all the tactical things that John brought up, but that I totally picked up on. It was the goal kick, laugh, and immediate goal that I was just like, that is.
What was interesting for me for Tampa Bay was very rarely do we see them playing from behind and so frequently. In fact, this is the first time in 210 days that they won a match from conceding the opening goal of that match. That last one was on September 2nd of last year against the Hartford Athletics, so another team from the New England area. But yeah, it's interesting with how Rhode Island's going to approach their next game, because it certainly doesn't let up. I mean, you're now playing the defending Eastern Conference champions in the Charleston Battery coming to town, and that's certainly not one that you want to take lightly.
I think the thing that's been interesting approach-wise with Rhode Island is that they're a team that's not afraid to play it long, and it's in pursuit of trying to pin their opponent back and maintain territory, like keep the ball in that attacking half of the field. And the way that Tampa Bay neutralized that by dropping their central midfield a little bit deeper, I don't really know what the counterpunch would be if you are Kano, and that's why he's the manager of this team and he knows what he's doing stylistically. I do think some of the squad selection has been intriguing to a degree. Like, this was a game where you knew the Rowdies were going to come out and press. He makes a change in the back line, going with Clay Holstad instead of Frank Nadarce. Holstad is not really a passer, and you've got Gabriel Alves sitting there. It's pretty clear he sees Alves as a center back at this point. That would have been my call. I think some of the choices he's made in the midfield, like, you've got a pretty deep and talented roster. I love what I'm seeing with the philosophy. I just want to see him use the depth that this team has to a greater degree to try and kind of adapt based on the matchup.
You kind of speak on Gabriel Alves just kind of sitting there, by the way. This was the first game where I can remember them really properly going to a three-man back line. They've kind of flirted with it, but this game Rhode Island went for that three-back. And if you're looking at Gabriel Alves, he was a center mid in college, played fullback at the professional level last year. If you're looking for a ball-playing center back, you kind of put those two things together. He can do a real job for you there. So I do understand where that one's coming from. Not to rub salt into my own wounds, but you're also about to get Colin Smith involved as well. And that's going to open up a lot more possibilities for you as a team if you're Rhode Island. So if you're looking at where do you go next, you have reinforcements coming, reinforcements who are used to the league. I think that I wouldn't panic at all if you're Rhode Island.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think this might be the last game. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk Indy versus Detroit. Indy comes out hot, but dear Lord, Detroit is relentless. And the number one fear I always had was, man, what if Detroit knew how to score? That show has taught them how to score, and their defense still looks really good. They are a problem.
I would like to thank Detroit City for letting me win a parlay with that late goal. I totally wasn't sweating that match at all, so thank you. I appreciate it.
I keep saying it. Ryan is sinking into degeneracy every passing week.
We're gonna have to make a scroll on the StreamYard of the gambling like hotline or like gambling addiction hotline. I think there are a couple sliding doors moments in this match. Nate Steinwasser closed those sliding doors in some respects, but I do want to focus primarily on how the signing of Ali Coote has made this Detroit City like offense so much more functional without changing a whole ton in terms of like the shape or even the patterns. But that signing and Maxi Rodriguez being able to move up in a place where he can link up with both Coote and Elvis Amo has made this team like just make so much more sense when they're in attack. And obviously the first goal comes directly from that link up. And just some composure on the edge of the area from Maxi Rodriguez to find Coote through on goal. He is basically like the Hopano like of this year in that like it's the only it's the thing that makes all of the rest of it make sense. And so yeah, I mean, credit to Detroit City for going and finding a player that can really stitch together like the rest of their build up. And obviously I think Steinwasser comes up big in this one. The last shout out I'll give is Yunus Boudadi's assist on the first goal is absolutely disgusting. Like the dribble into the box. But for Indy, I think unfortunately you see Jack Blake essentially trying to do what Ali Coote does for Detroit City, like out on that left wing position for Sean McCauley. And yeah, Coote gets the better of him in this one. And I know it took a late goal and some goalkeeping heroics, but Detroit City finding a way on the road in a game that I don't think they win in any scenario last year.
John, you kind of put it in the ether, and I'm not going to say you backtracked because you definitely didn't, but you said that Nate was GK1 in the league, and kind of said GK 1B and all that. Nate is clear number one for me. Like, I love Paul Blanchett, but
yeah,
Nate.
But the take was Nate 1A, Blanchett 1B. Like, Nate's the guy, but yeah, keep going on that.
I don't even think it's a 1A conversation. I think it's 1-2. Like, it is to what Nate provides in terms of because what Paul is really good at is shot stopping, but not bad at it. He's better than me, duh. But like, there's a lot of rebounds. He's really freaking good at parrying the ball. He's really good at just getting his body in front of the ball. But there's always a few rebound and a couple opportunities. Not saying he drops anything. That's not what I mean. But Nate always seems to save and catch. Like, it always feels like if he gets a paw to it, it's not going out for a corner, that the threat stops there. And what he provides with possession and passing, distribution, it's not Rocco Rios Novo, but it's good for what Detroit needs him to do. He's my easy GK1. Easy.
Yeah, and while we're going around and just shouting out Detroit players, how about James Murphy in that midfield?
Yeah.
Like, he's been so unbelievably good. They're playing with essentially a two-man midfield at times, just given the fact that Maxi is so far up, and Lijop and Murphy have been unbelievably good. In Indy 11, a lot of the times we're going with a pretty tight diamond defensively. They dropped Guenzati deeper into the midfield, and Murphy never really sweat against that shape. Like, he's been incredibly impressive coming over from Monterrey. Somebody who's been a linchpin for this team, who I don't think I looked at him as a huge signing. Like, I looked at him as maybe a piece that would get some games in rotation, but not be this vital to the system, but blown me away.
It is a bit of a theme too that we're seeing, I think, in the league, that like the midfield has made the difference in a lot of games, and there's a lot of teams that didn't prioritize like going out and getting difference makers in midfield, and it's showing early in the season. That is not a shot at Legion. That is a shot at my own team. That is a shot at my own team.
That was the tornado siren that got Kayla out of here.
Oh man, while we're just guys will just name random Detroit City players. That whole thing. Brett Levis is disgustingly good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, this was
Also,
the important choice lineup wise in this game was going with Reese Williams on that right wing. If you can fault Detroit at all this year, it's been the fact that Levis-Coote combination has been kind of the only source of offense at times. Having somebody who can serve in a ball on his right foot and really stretch the other side of the pitch, totally crucial to the way they broke down Indy late on.
Also, last year
did we get all the starting 11? Is there a player that I need to shout out so we don't get like hate mail from that player's parents or something from I'm on the podcast?
We never say anything about Michael Bryant, so notoriously good
He's
cornhole
cute.
player.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Thank you,
Mustache King, yeah.
Mustache King. I honestly, oh my god, there's the one person we didn't name, or the two people we didn't name would have been my vote for MVP of Amu Mensah and the actual player of the week, Maxi Rodriguez. Just the two players we didn't mention. So
we just kind of assume Maxi is going to be amazing. Like we take Maxi for granted.
We do kind of take Maxi for granted. Also, really nice guy. I just want to throw that out there. Like when they came to Birmingham last year, he wasn't in the starting 11. I was like, Maxi, you okay? And he was like, yeah, got a little knock. I might play. I might not. I'll see how I feel. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good for you, Maxi. Good for you. All right. By the way, this is not really on the table for us to talk about, but kind of thinking about Brett Levis. FC Tulsa. They might wish they had him right now. Just it's 2 games into the season, hard to tell, but anything on that?
I mean, they did have an issue of like Goodrum just kind of got hurt in warm-ups, and then Rishi today got hurt like 20 minutes into the game. I still think that the fact that they signed about half of their starters in the 2 weeks before the season because like Mario Sanchez just wanted his guys, that is going to lead to a slow start. The fact that they really haven't been able to, well, they've not designed their system around Arthur Rogers, which is kind of what they ought to have done, given that they got Arthur Rogers, and then they also lost Kelly and Charlie Adams late in the offseason. Like, that left it as the clear option. I think that there is a lot of meat on the bone of the roster, and they're not gnawing at it.
Tulsa also create a pretty decent amount in this match, and I would say in general, OC has ridden Colin Shuttler to like a very good start to the season to a certain extent. That being said, I know John talked about it in his Substack, and I've been talking about it early season, just not well. I did write one preseason article that mentioned Sofian Jafal, but my God, like he just really looks like I know we've been waxing lyrical about him, but he really does look like he's a unique player in the league because there aren't many players with his level of close control and the ability to just drive the ball forward on the dribble, plus combined with crazy technique in terms of passing and, as we found out this weekend, shooting as well.
He's a guy who started 20 games as a rookie in MLS, and then like he's just in the USL now because Austin didn't know what to do with him after he had a little bit of an injury. Real quick shout out to Andy there in the comments because he did indeed kind of force my hand. I realized I'm only talking about Eastern teams way too often. So shout out to the entirety of the West Coast.
And for at least Tulsa's next 3 games aren't going to get any easier with Phoenix, Sacramento, and Charleston consecutively, and this week being their first home opener. But luckily, Dr. Locomotive and Legion come after those 3 games.
I hate this sport. So
Joaquin Rivas might be healthy by then, so
Watch
maybe we'll
out.
find Muhammad
he's gonna fix.
Boya Torre by then, wherever he is. Like that'll fix anything. Let's go ahead and get to some predictions. Let's go ahead. I want to start off with New Mexico versus El Paso. One of the best rivalries that this league has to offer. If you aren't watching it, you should. Like this was feisty from day one, and it has remained that way. New Mexico off to a really good start. We could have talked about their performance this last week as well, but we did not. El Paso gets the week off to recoup after playing 17 matches in 3 days or whatever it was. And this could be the restart that El Paso needed while New Mexico's running hot. Alan, start us off.
I think I was slow to recognize New Mexico as being like a team this year. I was like still stuck in last year of maybe not the best team, and I was a little bit slow on their uptick. So I'm gonna say that they're gonna ride their hot hand in and take the win here.
Ryan?
Looking back through the previous 2 seasons, and oddly enough, the road team has won each of the last 4 games of this series, but I have to back New Mexico to break that trend this week with a victory.
Phil?
Yeah, I Albuquerque and the way the form is right now, I have to go with a New Mexico win against my fandom, but they've just got it together quicker than Locomotive have. The fresh legs and the week off, I'm thinking, will mean that Locomotive look a lot more serious than they did against Vegas. But I don't know that it'll be enough to get them over the hump.
John?
Yeah, I think that the New Mexico press has a way of shutting down teams that are going to try to work the ball on the ground into their forward line. Doesn't necessarily bode well for the Locomotive here, so go on New Mexico.
I am also taking New Mexico. Let's go ahead and go down to South Beach, and let's talk about Miami, who, hey, maybe Miami's legit, with Hartford, who I will just say it, they are legit. This should be a fun one down on the South Beach. Alan? Rest in peace, Alan, maybe?
Yay, there I am.
Hey, hi.
Much like that performance, last season, I think this is a game people avoid watching. I think this season has a lot more intrigue, but I'm still going with Hartford on this one.
Ryan?
You're muted, Ryan.
Rest in peace.
Sorry. I'm taking Hartford on this one. Despite going goalless against Miami in their 2 meetings last season, I feel like this is a different Hartford athletic team, and I'm going to back them for the win.
I think these teams actually have retained like one player between both of them, which is actually so funny.
Just complete transformation. I went Hartford too. There was a part of me that almost put draw, just because there's something about this Hartford side early on that makes it seem like they might be vulnerable to Miami's like park the bus mentality. I think they'll have enough to get it over the line, but I do think Miami, if they have shown us anything, Miami have shown us that they at least know how to play as a team. And I think that is going to give Hartford some fits, but I do still back Hartford to win it.
John?
I think Miami is kind of designed in a lab to deny what Hartford wants to do, and I think that they have the ingredients to like nab a goal on the counter and be gritty like that. I think after Hartford had a really frustrating game against North Carolina, they're going to come out with a little bit of fire and go and get this win, however.
I'm taking Hartford. A lot of this comes down to Jay Chapman, Anderson Asadu, and Michigalina, Deshaun Beckford. Those four can change a game individually, and I just believe in what they're kind of cooking out there right now. So I am taking Hartford. Sneaky fun game of the weekend: Las Vegas versus San Antonio.
San Antonio fans are going to hate me, but I'm picking them. John wrote a really great piece about how Mr. Lambert has added, so I want to shout him out on that. Has added a piece to San Antonio. I would like to see Vegas do well, because when Vegas is playing well, it makes the West way more interesting, because there are no ugly-headed stepchild on the West Coast. They're further east now. But there's no there's less walkovers in the West with Vegas playing well, and so that's what I'm hoping for. Everyone has a great time.
Always, Ryan.
Did anyone bet at the start of the year that Las Vegas would have? No pun intended.
You did.
Did anyone think at the start of the year that Las Vegas would have more clean sheets at some point in the year than San Antonio would? Because Las Vegas is off the back of 2 clean sheets in a row, something they haven't done since 2022. But I still think San Antonio is the better side. They've scored 2 goals in each of their first 4 games right now, and they should likely get the win here this weekend.
Phil?
I'm probably cooking a little bit too much here, but I'm really buying a lot of what lights are selling, and I'm going for a draw in this one. I think it'll be an entertaining game, but yeah, I think lights might have something, like not anything. I'm not saying they're going to be like top of the West or anything like that, but I think they are actually cooking something out there, and I think they grab a point.
Yeah, there's something about that midfield with Valentin Noel, JC Nagano, and especially Coleman Gannon. I would go to war for that guy. He's kind of short. He's constantly being annoying in the press. He's my kind of hybrid forward midfielder. I think against this San Antonio team, who feels like they've had a good 60 minutes every time out, but haven't quite been able to hold it wholly together, San Antonio is going to really bring it in this one against Fabian Garcia and get the dub.
I wrote down Las Vegas and erased it several times because in my head I was like, lads, it's Las Vegas. But I think I might have wrote San Antonio, but I think I changed my mind again. I'm taking Las Vegas. I just really buy into it. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I also really like what San Antonio is doing, but yeah, I'm really loving what Las Vegas is cooking up. Let's go.
Joe Zhao and Juan Agudelo on the pitch, like Paul Rudd at Hot Ones. Like who would have thought?
Oh no! All right. Speaking of who would have thought, Central Valley, they did some things, and then Richmond actually get a win tonight. US Open Cup, bizarre penalty that should not have been a penalty, and then one of the most bizarre, I'm passing it to you, when playing out of the back goes wrong, one of the wildest ones I've ever seen. And then, by the way, a banger from Maryland. That was gross.
Darren Espinal just killing it.
Yeah. Former DCFC.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into Richmond versus Central Valley.
Oh, I had a tough one with this one, but I'm going with Chaos and picking Fuego.
Ryan?
These teams last season combined for 18 goals in each of their meetings last year. I mean, while we're looking at a Richmond team who are coming off the back of 2 Open Cup victories, I still want to point out that they haven't won a game in a USL League One regular season since July 1st of last season, which is still counting 276 days ago. I'm picking a draw out of this one.
Yeah, I went for chaos draw. I think this is like 4-4 or something stupid like that.
Yeah, I was thinking this was going to be like okay, we're here, we can do the thing, win for Richmond, and then they kind of did that tonight in the Open, which undercuts my narrative. I still think they're just straight up the better team than Fuego. Like, what we're seeing with a ton of long balls and Siobhan John Brown getting on the end of flick-ons is kind of smoke and mirrors from Jermaine Jones. So give me the Kickers.
I kind of thought that everybody for Richmond was like hurt. So today, the fact that, I mean, obviously Terzagi's still out, but I just thought everybody was like kind of just dead. So I took Fuego, but after seeing tonight, I'm not as certain on that. But there's also just something about West Coast chaos that I don't know. I buy into that somewhat. Like it's there. I'm buying into it just a bit. So I guess I'll take Central Valley for the vibes. But let's end it just like they are going to be ending it on CBS for those for the sports. All the letters, proximity association,
Louisville,
whatever.
Indianapolis. Wait.
Proximity.
Proximity Association Football Contest.
It's the oldest one. All I know is that's the oldest competition in the history of the universe. Alan, on CBS, what you got?
Lou City.
Ryan?
If there's a pivotal moment in this match, I really want the announcer to say this one is for all the letters, like you just did, Kaylor, but Louisville City in a lock.
Phil?
Yeah. You'd be a very, very bold man to bet against Lou City at this point. So yeah, I'm going Lou.
I don't know if y'all have seen I think it's unofficial trophy, that it's like a traffic cone with the I-65 sign in it. And I mean, hey, that's a highway I've been on more than anything else in my entire life. So this is my game. I'm excited for it. And I think it's not going to be close. I've got Lou City in a lock.
It's always funny that interstates are as long as they are because I-65 is also the interstate that I've also been on the most, which is, it's just funny how long interstates are. Yeah, it's Lou City.
Isn't that the point of interstates is they traverse multiple
except
states?
Like some
Don't
of them,
talk about that.
Except like some of them are like not that long. Like some of them are pretty short and it freaks me out. So
really makes you think.
Let's for me, I almost went with Indy because last year Indy had the shock win in Lynn family as well, and I thought, could they do it twice? But honestly, if I came out here and said that Indy is going to beat Lou City, I would just seem like just a straight up hater, and I can't do that. So yeah, I have to take Lou City. I think that's it.
Because they beat you into submission? Is that why you picked them? Like they've ruined you? You are Reek now from Game of Thrones? Is that what's happening?
It's only the worst loss since 2019, and it's okay. Everything's fine. Anyway, I might not have nightmares about it later. We'll find out. I'll call my therapist. All right. Any final USL thoughts? Anything?
I think by that analogy, I would always have to pick Phoenix because they like literally murdered my club.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, I've got a USL thought. Go read everything the protagonist is putting out, but especially Phil's recaps.
Yeah.
And read all of John's stuff because holy cow, he's doing the most.
the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good stuff. I think it was Ross and USL League One
Yeah.
review end up kind of just talking about it a little bit as well, about how much just good content there is in the USL right now. He said specifically in League One, which yes, the League One content game is ridiculous right now. But also just in general, there's so much good USL content out there. Go follow all of it. And if there's an episode that you like, go tag them in it. Or if there's something that you read that you like, quote it, share it around, tag them in it, because your love and appreciation for it, I can guarantee you there's at least once or twice a day as they are writing or recording whatever it is that they are thinking about quitting it and closing up shop. So spread them that love, because it gets hard. It does get hard to keep doing it. So show them love. So, yeah, I think that's about.
I love you, Kaylor. I love you.
Thank you, Alan. I love you too. I'm hurt, but I will eventually. I'll eventually grow. Yeah. Final thoughts for the night. Let's go back to the love, Alan. Which with your tattoo, I think that means you are the biggest Carolina Core fan in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully everyone had a nice Trans Day of Visibility on Sunday and didn't get mad that it happened to be on Easter, even though Trans Day of Visibility has been the 31st for like seemingly ever. Yeah. Just be kind to each other out there, folks. The banter is one thing, but when it comes down to it, like I just wanted to give Kaylor a giant hug afterwards and tell him everything will be all right, because everything will be all right, because he's making a difference in people's lives on a daily basis, and I know his kids absolutely adore him. Most of his kids absolutely adore him. You're not going to win them all, Kaylor. Never going to win them all, but we one another out there, folks.
Love you, Ryan.
I don't often shout out like just random YouTube videos that I watch, but one of my favorite movie reviewers, Shafreya's Productions, did a review on Megamind 2 and the subsequent TV show that hit Peacock. For the it was an hour-long review, and for reference, the Megamind 2 is currently at 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. So if you want to like just have something to just go and laugh at for a while, it's a great video and a fantastic watch.
There was a second one.
That was like a lot of the point that he was making for that review.
Okay.
It just hit Peacock, by the way.
All right, Phil.
Yeah, I this past weekend I don't have any good like show or anything recommendations, but this past weekend I was with my family. My sister and her husband just moved into their first house, so that was exciting. We were spending the weekend together, and on a random whim, me and my family made Cuban food. So we did some Cubanos, and I actually by hand, which you might be able to still see on my thumb, peeled plantains and made tostones, and like a garlic cilantro like dipping sauce as well. And when I tell you, it was the best potential way to eat ham on an Easter weekend. Yeah, highly recommend. So yeah, and we did a little like black bean like thing as well. So we just went for it. And if you have a Cuban restaurant near you, patronize it.
That sounds unreal.
It was sick, actually. Peeling plantains is harder than you would think, though. And as a white man, it did not come naturally to me. But through hard work and determination, I did eventually figure it out.
I destroyed so many plantains trying to make fried plantains about a few weeks ago, and like it was just an absolute slaughtering of perfectly good food. John?
Yeah, I guess this weekend I started watching Twin Peaks for the first time, and I'm just loving it so far. Like it's weird, it's funnier than I thought it was gonna be. So excited to dig into what's gonna end up being about 3 seasons of that.
Nice. I made actually talking about just stuff that's not your typical, well, American household meal, white person meal, if we're being honest. I made pho actually, which surprisingly easier than I thought it was going to be. Granted, I probably made it way wrong, so everybody who's like ever had pho will be like, "You made beef broth, pal," but I thought it was very good. So that was fun. I've never actually cooked with the rice noodles before. So much better than normal noodles that I'm
Mhm.
used to. That's what I've learned. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So the takeaway from the USL show today is expand your pasta horizons.
And part of our new merch is going to be a USL Show cookbook, by the way.
Okay, I am being very serious when I say this. I am working on a Google form to send to every club in the USL with asking players what their like favorite childhood meal was and if they have a recipe. Cuz like I am currently working on that because I'm so intrigued, especially cuz there's a lot of guys that are not from the US or even stuff I never thought about. Not all parts of the US eat the same kind of food, and as someone who has been stuck in my own Southeast bubble for all of my life, the fact that not everybody just grew up on, well, grease and collards is insane to me. So like I'm so intrigued and I cannot wait to actually send that out. So
You said
Yeah, if you-
Southeast, and like I want shrimp and grits now.
I was trying if there was a joke about killer whales and okra or not in there somewhere.
there's yeah, it's there.
It's there. Yeah, we'll
If you're
workshop it.
dyslexic,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okra, fried okra. Oh,
Oh man. Speaking of the teaching, by the way, Alan, had a kid walk up to me and was like, "Hey, I think my soldering came loose on my trumpet," which I had already resoldered his trumpet. So I was like, "There's no way that happened. I just fixed that." He ripped the lead pipe out of the instrument. Which I was like, "That's not coming loose. You broke it." Like, that's broken. There's a picture on my Twitter if anybody is interested. It's gross, and I'm really mad about it because I spent time on a soldering gun fixing it, but
And when he says gross, it means like a part of an instrument broke. Like it's not gory or anything.
yeah. Hold on, because this really matters now, and this totally matters.
Content warning, graphic pictures.
yeah, we're gonna get our sponsorships pulled for this.
If it's by Holton, maybe, because this should not happen to a Holton.
Oh yeah. I've seen that happen quite a few. Because if one soldering breaks, the whole lead pipe is gonna go. It's gonna go.
If you're looking at this, the kid got his mouthpiece stuck in the instrument, and despite the form that's sent home, it said if something happens to your instrument, just leave it there and bring it to me. I can fix it. They said, "Nah, we're hardworking people from the country. We can fix a little piece of metal." They broke it. It's broken. I'm so mad. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm getting it fixed. Anyway.
Maybe they're just trying to create a blow dart thing. Like they're
Ooh.
They're trying to get an experimental sound with that trumpet. Just trying to experiment, find something new.
In college, my horn professor had a lead pipe that was just that, and he would make you play on it every now and then because it made you figure out if you were using air effectively. So it's actually a common practice tool, but not for a 5th grader.
Sure, I'm sure he told you that. I'm sure that was what he told you.
That's what he told me. Yeah. Anyway, that was that. Hey, can you stop messing with my blinds? God, stupid cat.
I'm glad we got Kaylor just kind of talking to his cat before the episode ended.
Had to get there. Had to get there.
He's like 10 seconds from wrapping up, and Nas just gonna talk to the cat.
It's not an episode until he talks to the cat.
Yeah, pretty
Best part is
much.
Kaylor doesn't actually own a cat. The cats always happen to be off camera, just conveniently off camera.
Just moving the curtain.
I love the idea of somebody who's an hour and a half into this podcast and can't see a thing that's going on and is like, what is wrong with these people?
If they made it an hour and a half, then they should be used to this at this point.
They are just suffering from auditory hallucinations.
No, I'm not going to get it. No, I've already talked enough. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. It has been an absolute blast to have everyone back. Hopefully, this next week is nice, fun, and chaotic because it's always best when it's that way. Thank you all so much for listening. And for the last time tonight, here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.